Hi, I am Jusandra Jarkingas from BSNEd1G6VRPSB, and let's talk about the two different sampling. First is simple random sampling and stratified random sampling. So before we proceed to that, we'll know what is simple random sampling. Maybe because you already have a prior knowledge about this back in grade 11 or 12, since you conducted the research. Might simple random sampling or stratified random sampling are one of the sampling that you use in your research. So allow me to introduce a simple random sampling. It is a type probability sampling in which the researcher randomly selects a subset of participants from the populations, where each member of the population has an equal chance of being selected. And the advantage of it are fair, easy to understand, and the disadvantage are take time, need a fullest. Let's start from the advantages. Fair, everyone has an equal chance, so it is not biased. Easy to understand since this method is simple and clear. Disadvantage is takes time, it can be slow if the group is too big. Needs a fullest, you need to know everyone in the population or group to pick fairly. That is simple random sampling. We have the stratified sampling. This is when you divide a group into smaller group called strata, based on something that they have in common, like age or gender. Then you randomly pick people from each group. The advantage of it are all groups are included. It makes sure every type of person is part of the sample. Number two, more accurate. The results are better because different groups are represented. And the limitation of it takes more time. You have to divide the group first before picking. And the number two disadvantage or limitation needs the group info. You need to know details about each person to put them in the right group.
Good day everyone, my name is Althea Monreal, and today I will report about the detailed analysis of sampling methods. But I will only focus on the two types, the simple random sampling and the stratified sampling. So let's start first with simple random sampling. So this method is all about giving every individual in your population an equal chance of being selected. It's like a drawing names out of a hat where no one is favored. Like for example, in research, if you conduct a study, nga imong participants is random, then magsalit ka kuan random people nga imong gusto nga conductan ana nga study. So the major benefits of this method is that it minimizes bias, since every member has the same chance of being chosen man, and you're ensuring fairness across the board. However, it does come with a challenge, So if you're working with a large population, it can become time-consuming siya. And the process of selecting people at random can take a lot of time and effort siya, since ang imuhang population is daghan man and random pa ang imuhang mga participants. So it's very hard. So kanang simple random sampling is great lang siya for smaller or more uniform population, but it's less efficient when dealing with large or diverse group. But it depends on you if kaya na ninyo. So that's for the simple random sampling, Now let's explore stratified sampling. So in this method, you divide your population into subgroups, or ginatawag nato nga strata, based on certain characteristics. Like for example, ilahang age, gender, or unsa man dira, and then you randomly select individuals from each subgroups. Like for example, sa age magkuha ka og isa ka, like sa age nga mga group, magkuha ka og isa ka participants, and sa lahi na pud nga grupo magkuha ka like that. That is the stratified sampling. So the advantage of the stratified sampling, it ensures that each subgroups is represented in your sample. So this method gives you a more accurate and diverse representation of the population and more fairness siya. But just like simple random sampling, stratified sampling has its downsides. So the process can be kanang complex and time consuming siya, since you need to kanang i-categorize pa na nimo ang mga population into the right subgroups and sample from each one. So stratified sampling is perfect if you need a more balanced and representative sample, but it requires a bit more effort lang jud and planning, since kanang daghan jud kay siya mga grupo-grupo. So that's for the stratified sampling. So that's all for my report, Thank you so much.
Systematic sampling means choosing every nth person from a list. For example, if you pick the fifth student from a class list, that's called a systematic sampling. It is easy and quick, but it might be biased if there is a hidden pattern in the list. On the other hand, cluster sampling is when we divide a big group into smaller groups called clusters, then randomly choose whole clusters to study. It is useful when the population is large and then spread out like people living in different towns. However, if the chosen clusters aren't good representative of the whole group, the results might be off. Then, sampling is super important in math, like in statistics, which is a big part of the modern mathematics. It helps us to make conclusions without studying every single person. We see this in surveys, elections, health studies, and more. For example, a survey might use cluster sampling to know what people in a province think about an issue. So, math helps us to calculate probabilities, average, and margins of errors in these situations.
Good day everyone, I am Jane Chalar, and this time I'm going to discuss about the different sampling method, which is the convenient sampling and the purposive sampling. So first is we have the convenient sampling. So let me define to you what is convenient sampling. So it involves selecting a sample from a population that is easy to access or contact. The researchers chooses individuals who are readily available without randomizations. For example, surveying students in a classroom because they are easy to reach. Another example is a researchers studying students' study habit surveys students in their own university class because they are easily accessible. So now let's proceed to the advantages of the convenient sampling. So first is we have the cost effective. It saves time and money because it requires fewer resources. Next is quick to conduct, ideal for pilot studies or preliminary research where speed is crucial. Also useful in early research stages, helps to get quick insights before more rigorous methods are used. But there are also some limitations of the convenient sampling. So first is high risk of bias. It doesn't represent the whole population, so findings may be skewed, and also results cannot be confidently applied to the broader population. So next, we have the purposive sampling. So the definition is purposive sampling, also known as a judgment or selective sampling, is a non-probability sampling technique where the researchers selects the participant based on their knowledge, experience, or specific characteristics that are relevant to the research purpose. So for example, a researcher studying coping mechanism of cancer survivors deliberately selects participants who have completed cancer treatment. So now let's proceed to the advantages of the purposive sampling. So first, it focuses on relevant data, ensures that the samples include individuals with the most relevant experience or knowledge. Next, it is efficient, saves time and resources by focusing only on the appropriate subjects. But of course, there's also some limitations about the purposive sampling. So first, because purposive sampling doesn't involve random selection. It's dealt for qualitative research but not appropriate for statistical generalizations or population level interferences. Next, it breaks the assumptions required for most statistical tests, especially those involving probability and inferences. That's all, thank you.
Quota sampling is non-random methods where researchers select a fixed number of participants from specific groups, like age or gender, to ensure each group is properly represented. When to use? Use it when you need a specific number from different groups to be included in your study. Snowball sampling is not a random sampling techniques where the researchers begins with a small group of participants. These initial participants are then asked to refer others to meet these numbers for the study. As the process continues, the sample size increases, growing like a snowball. This method is particularly useful when studying hidden, hard to reach, or specialized populations. Snowball sampling is commonly used when target populations is difficult to access, such as members of a specific social group in the rare conditions or marginalized communities. Since this group are not easy identifiable through traditional sampling methods, snowball sampling allow the researcher to expand the sample by using referral from initial participants.
So our chosen research topic is teachers' attitudes, beliefs, and opinions regarding the integration of students with hearing impairment into mainstream or regular educational settings. So we identified 2 sampling methods which are suitable in this research topic. First, we have purposive sampling, or specifically criterion sampling. So why? It's because since the context is selected public special education schools in Cebu, criterion sampling is highly relevant as researchers can select participants based on criteria, such as teachers in the selected public special education schools in Cebu who have experience teaching learners with hearing impairment in regular classrooms. Another criteria is teachers in these schools who have specific training or expertise in inclusive education for students with hearing impairment. And then teachers in these schools who have expressed particular views or concerns about inclusions of students with hearing impairment. And then this expected sample characteristics for this sampling method is that the sample would consist of general and special education teachers from selected public special education schools in Cebu who meet the defined criteria. It would be a focused sample chosen for the direct experience and knowledge related to the research topic within this specific setting. So purposive sampling in Cebu selected public special education schools provides context-specific data but may limit generalizability due to selected teachers' perceptions. However, internal reliability and content validity are enhanced by expert selection. So another suitable sampling method for this research topic is stratified random sampling within the specific context. So why? It is because stratified random sampling can be used to ensure representation from different groups within the selected public special education schools. So stratified sampling divides a larger population into subgroups, or what we call the strata, allowing for accurate representation of each stratum. This is according to BIS 2024. So potential strata could include teachers with varying levels of experience teaching learners with hearing impairment. Another is teachers with different roles, like for example, general education, special education, or administrators. And then teachers from different public special education schools. Another is teachers with different levels of training in inclusive education for hearing impairment. For its expected sample characteristics, so the sample would be a more representative selection of teachers from the identified strata within the chosen public special education schools in Cebu. So this would include teachers with varying experiences, roles, and training backgrounds. Stratified random sampling in the selected schools improves representativeness and generalizability, but it may not apply to all schools. It enhances contract validity by capturing diverse perspectives, but it still relies on data quality.